And this is where we start. Unions at the SABC had given the public broadcaster until 4 p.m. today to respond to a list of concerns over what they say are illegal practices being conducted by management over the looming retrenchments. The SABC announced the possible retrenchment of 600 permanent staff and 1,200 freelance workers. The Deputy Minister of Communications, Kekana, recently said a department is opposed to the plan. Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Communications has labelled the issuing of the Section 189 notice as premature. So the Broadcasting, Electronic Media and Allied Workers Union, BEMAWU, will now instruct its lawyers to approach the courts to interdict the SABC from going ahead with the process. So do note that we also approached the SABC to participate in this discussion, and it said it was unable to at this stage. But BEMAWU President Buisson now joins me live via Skype, and so does the Communication Workers Union General Secretary Aubrey Tshabalala, who joins us via Skype. A very good evening to you, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening.
Good evening.
All right, Hannes, let's start with you. So a deadline had been given to the SABC to respond by 4 o'clock. Has that happened?
No, absolutely not. The lolo from the SABC, not acknowledgement of receipt, absolutely nothing. So they just basically ignored a very important letter that we jointly, as the organised labour at the SABC, has sent the SABC for them to give them an opportunity to respond to very serious issues that we raised in terms of the process of this consultation, and they chose to ignore that.
So can you confirm that you're now headed to court to interdict the SABC?
We have had a discussion with our legal team in respect of that. We have instructed them to start drafting papers in the meantime. So what will happen is that there is tomorrow morning the first facilitation meeting where we will raise these issues with the commissioner of the CCMA that has been appointed to deal with the process of consultation. And of course, if we are not going to get joy from that process and the SABC, we will then proceed to court to file papers to have this process brought back to the procedure that has been described by Section 189A of the Labour Relations Act.
Hannes, I'll come back to that and that process that starts tomorrow. But Aubrey, let me bring you in. One of the points raised, you say that the SABC is basically illegally consulting employees on this new structure, which the public broadcaster plans to implement.
Definitely. Good evening to you, Griselda, and the viewers at home. We of the same view that indeed SABC is unlawfully consulting with workers and also the public without fully engaging with the stakeholders or relevant stakeholders. I would like to take you a little bit back. You'll recall that at the time we halted the process of Section 189, there were issues that were outlined, and one of those was that there must be exhaustion of the skills audit process, and secondly, to engage meaningfully on the turnaround strategy that will take SABC forward. For us to do that, it will enable us to correctly analyze the turnaround strategy of SABC, but also to make meaningful inputs. In absence of that, SABC is running a risk of retrenching workers that are needed when we go into the digital transformation, when you go into the online content and so on and so forth. So indeed, they are jumping a gun, and they don't have a mandate of a shareholder, which is government as we speak.
Aubrey, I want to come back to you on that very shortly. But Hannes, there also seems to be a concession, I understand, from the firm conducting the skills audit on behalf of the SABC, that this skills audit does not accurately capture people's skills, and this was brought to the attention of the SABC. You say, what do we know?
Well, that incidentally happened when the SABC yesterday issued notices to employees and on very short notice instructed them to complete the skills audit. We know that in the skills audit presentation that was done to us, that there's more or less 49% of SABC staff who has not completed phase 2 of that skills audit. So an employee then phoned the company, the consultants that were doing the skills audit. We are in possession of that particular audio clip. As we know, these days our cell phones do record all conversations automatically. And yeah, lo and behold, the consulting company then, when confronted by the process that's been used to analyze skills, and that particular employee then told the consultancy company that my skills as an employee would not be properly assessed. There was an admission that it is true that they are aware of that, but that they have been instructed by the SABC's Human Resources Department to proceed with what they called a approved questionnaire or survey. Now, to us, that is very, very serious, because if there is an admission that the current process, the skills audit process, will not correctly capture the skills of employees, that means that the entire skills process is null and void, because the competencies of employees will not be correctly captured. And as Comrade Aubrey has said, the problem here is that you are going to let go of people probably that are skilled, and you are maybe going to retain people that's not properly skilled. So the main thing here is that the Section 189 process a year ago was stopped on instruction of the shareholder and Parliament to do a proper skills audit. That has not happened.
I want to talk about this process, which I understand will begin here at the SABC tomorrow, with the CCMA, the SABC and employees beginning. Why are you then choosing to participate in this process, Aubrey, if you don't believe that this process in any way is fair to the employees in any regard?
Well, first we have to demonstrate our case, Griselda. We cannot let them loosely, because they will say that we did not come forth with these issues. So we have to make sure that we cover all the areas to make sure that we defend workers. But I just want to jump back to what Comrade Hennis was indicating around the hush-hushness of SABC on the skills audit. You'll recall that last week they misled the portfolio committee, that they've dealt with the issues of skills audit. Now they want to cover that up. But secondly, they misled the portfolio committee and said they've cut the cost in terms of legal cases and so forth. Whilst we know very well that the cases are piling up, they are sued left and right and forth. So all of these things, we have to make sure that we represent workers correctly and we attend all these processes that are there in terms of the law. But we are going there not to fold our arms to allow workers to be slaughtered. We are going there to stop the process because it's illegitimate. That's what we are going to do tomorrow. So we are going to engage the SABC. But also, it's very important to highlight this, that there's some element of high level of arrogance by the board and executive of SABC. If the shareholder says you have not exhausted all the processes are in place, go back and consult the union and completely ignore the parliament and proceed with this process and say we want to forge ahead. They want us to fall into a trap of not attending this meeting tomorrow, and they will be saying the unions did not come forward and therefore they are proceeding with that. So we are going there to stop that process, basically.
So will you be approaching a Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Communications to report on this particular aspect of it going ahead?
We have already made a contact with the whip of the portfolio committee. We are waiting in anticipation for the date, because together as Labour, we are going to approach the portfolio committee to present our case and to put the facts correctly around what we want to see as a turnaround strategy. We have 5 key pillars that we want SABC to focus on, because we want this public broadcaster to be a success. And those 5 key pillars, amongst others, is a funding model, digital digital migration, unfunded broadcasting model that we have to talk about that with the state, the online content, and also the regulations. So if you have not addressed those things and think by cutting a staff, you are dealing with the question of finances, then you've got all wrong.
So, Hannes, just very quickly, we're running out of time. I guess for the same reasons that Aubrey Tshabalala has mentioned, the unions will be attending that meeting tomorrow between the SABC as well as the CCMA and the employees.
Absolutely. It's a legal process and we cannot not go there. It is like being summoned to go to court and then you don't pitch at court. So we have to go and put our case before the Commissioner. We are going to ask the Commissioner to stand down those proceedings pending the outcome of an urgent application. The SABC may appear before the Commission tomorrow and they may provide the reasons for us. They may give those undertakings that we have asked them to give in our letter. But if the attitude is going to persist, then we are going to ask for that meeting to stand down so that we then can exercise our rights in court. And I just want to add that it is not as if we want to run away from this process. We want to be part of this process, and we want the SABC as a public broadcaster to work and to be properly skilled and to properly function. But we cannot allow a situation where there are illegal consultations. Employees are individually consulted, which is a clear breach of the Labour Relations Act. Appointments have been made in this process. Whilst we are the SABC contemplating retrenching, they are appointing people from outside. We want those appointments to be reversed. So there are a number of issues that we have raised, but most importantly, as Aubrey has said, there was an instruction, and one cannot, if a wish has been expressed by Parliament, we as citizens must accept that that is an instruction from Parliament. And Parliament clearly said, your notice was premature. Go back, work the process. It's not the Section 189 process. The process of skills audit and all of those processes, and then you come back. But there is no compliance.
Just a final one, Hannes. Can non-unionized members be present at tomorrow's meeting?
There is currently well, first of all, the Act prescribes who can be, and that is if there are registered trade unions and they have a collective agreement, those are the unions. We know that recently there was this, the AMCO decision, which says that every union don't necessarily need to be involved. So non-unionized members technically has no locus standi at this process because they chose to be not members of a union, and there are trade unions that has got collective agreements in place that can represent workers at that process. So the short answer is technically no.
All right, thank you very much for all of that clarity. Thanks indeed. Aubrey Tshabalala, the General Secretary of the Communication Workers Union and the President of the Broadcasting, Electronic Media and Allied Workers Union, BEMAWU, joining us there on the looming retrenchments here at the SABC. I also see that a statement has just come through from Media Monitoring Africa. In a nutshell, we will certainly put all of this together for you in context of what their response to all of this is. A statement dropping just a few moments ago saying the SOS Coalition and Media Monitoring Africa take note of the SABC's notice of possible job redundancy or retrenchments. According to the Labour Relations Act, the action, in our view, is a culmination of a series of crises that have rocked the public broadcaster over the past decade or so. Quite a long statement here, but we'll certainly put it together for you to get the other side of what Media Monitoring Africa and the SOS Support Public Broadcasting Group are saying about these looming retrenchments here at the public broadcaster.